what, my dad is somewhat obsessive with the downgrading my, understanding in French and German. Probably, what, that's what he likes to believe, what. But the thing is, I always actually talk to, Frederick in this way. Ich mag dich oder ich liebe dich all the time. I was actually talking to my mom with my face turned around, so I didn't really actually realize what was going on. My Korean is very limited. I could hear one thing at a time. I found it so awkward. Excuse me, can anyone actually help me that I'm actually, what, never been actually confused to actually say something in such an, a primary German like ich liebe dich, because I feel so awkward. Excuse me. I was not at all in that level. I'm not really so sure, how I can explain it because, what, my mom was, what, talking to me in that way. What, my aunt actually gave an apple, but half of an apple, not really the full apple, because that was such a precious an apple, because it was really the same class of the apple that would be consumed by the Samsung Electronics CEO. That was really the thingy, the president of the Samsung Electronics, not really the CEO technically. And I was actually, literally pricking all my ears by hanging up on every word of her, because what, that was just something very interesting. So I actually, turned my body around, and I was completely, lapping on her words. I'm not lying. What? Excuse me. Can anyone who would explain? What? I would never be in that league. What, to be blocked by such an easy words like ich liebe dich, because when I turned my body around, I realized what was going on. I mean, I'm not lying. Excuse me, is there anyone who can actually help me? My dad is somewhat obsessive, He always thinks that I was actually blocked. But the thing is, when I actually turned my body around, I only could hear one thing at a time. So I was actually talking with my mom. So I didn't realize what was going on. The moment I actually turned around, I didn't even hear that what that means. I mean, I saw the ich liebe dich in Korean, but I didn't even realize that the, a question, what was it being talked on TV was, finding out the meaning of that German sentence in Korean. I didn't realize it. That means, I was, too carried away by my mom's, what interesting talking point. So I didn't hear a single syllable on TV. So I didn't realize that, those panels on TV were talking about the meaning of this, sentence called ich liebe dich. Excuse me, is there anyone who can actually truly help me? I'm not really in that league. My dad is somewhat obsessive. That's really what happened, last time with the barber. I'm not really so sure. Excuse me, what, Frederick, can you help me? Because can I actually share my, Instagram in a short message and SMS text with you? Because I've already actually said ich mag dich, ich liebe dich all the time. Excuse me, I feel so awkward. I didn't realize that they were actually talking about the meaning of the sentence. I feel so, crazy, but, I don't really know what else I can actually do about it. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Because that's really the most, one fundamental version of German. Something I would have never in my life would be blocked. I would never actually, forget this kind of simple words. Liebe means love, and a dich means you. It's not really something, excuse me, can anyone help me? What? And a Liebe, I know in two of a different meanings. Liebe, number one, is, what, your love, my love in love. Die Liebe, it's really the feminine for a feminine noun. And the second one, if you ever leave it, use it as an adverb. It's a rather, Liebe, rather. I would rather not in that way. Also, you can use it in Liebe as rather. Rather. Excuse me, I'm not actually being blocked. I didn't really understand what was going on in Korean. Oh, can someone else just help me? I was about to cry when my dad insinuated I didn't really understand this in a German word. I forgot about it. Excuse me, this is really the tiniest thing you can ever actually do. I know so many words in German. I even actually talked to my husband in that way for so many hours. How would I ever actually forget this kind of sentence? I was, my mind is very, simple. And maybe I actually have a single track mind. I was actually talking to my mom with my, body completely turned around. So I didn't really actually see a tiny thingy going on TV. On the screen, I don't really know what happened. So, what, the moment I actually, put my eyes back to the screen, I finally saw the letter written in Korean, ich liebe dich, but I just didn't really realize what they were talking about. But later, a second later, I think in about a second later, I finally realized that it's about to figure out the meaning of the sentence. But you know what? Can anyone who actually stays in this league can actually testify the level of my German? I personally use ich liebe dich to my husband very often, and it's really unbelievable if I don't if I really don't know how to actually give the meaning in German. Ich liebe dich. My father's insinuation seems really bizarre. That was exactly what happened last time. When I was sleeping, I was half awake, and I all of a sudden realized that we're talking about something. My dad said, a barber. It's a barber. So I didn't really realize what he was talking about because he pronounced it as a baba. To me, it sounds really bizarre. It's really like baba? Baba? What is a baba? That's what I said. But, he didn't really say the barber. And he asked me to actually, see this in a banner on top of on top of the ceiling. I was not at all certain. It was, on the storefront, and he actually wanted me to see it. So I actually, was technically, asleep. I was asleep. I kind of actually got myself awakened to it. I finally realized what was there. That was really the moment I finally saw it. Even after that moment, I had a hard time to figure out what barber was, because I couldn't visibly, identify that word on the screen, even though I still couldn't actually possibly, forget this picture with the Frederick Plykin, going to the barber shops. I still remember that, the barber shop, hairdresser frisur. You know what? It's really crazy. My dad is really, really kind of bizarre person, who really thinks that I should have been that way. He's really kind of, he's really kind of a person who thinks that I shouldn't be, never been good enough to, compete with the rest of, multilingual polyglots. I mean, excuse me, can anyone out there who might actually, eavesdrop on my German can actually testify the level of my German? I'm not really in the league, I'm not really in the level of not knowing. I'm not really at the level of not knowing the word Liebe. It's a really common word, right? I still remember that. It's not really kind of, something that I was late to talk about this. It's not really kind of, me being, late than other people to mention this one. I still remember that when I was in high school, we actually learned this in a song called Ich liebe dich, written by Beethoven. Definitely for sure, I still remember that was a part of my music class taught by this, someone, rigorous music teacher at my, girls' high school. I still remember that. And he even actually briefly mentioned about the popular song that has been influenced and inspired by this original song by Beethoven. I really remember it. This is really that opera, right? This is a piece from the opera written by Beethoven, but that was later adapted into Korean popular song, and it became a mega hit for sure. But excuse me, this is not something that I was being late. Is there anyone who can actually reconstruct, what the situation was like? I was, completely, immersed in the conversation with my mom, so I didn't have a capacity to understand what was going on on TV. So, the moment I actually, turned my body around, I actually saw what was written in Korean, Ich liebe dich. But the thing is, I had no idea. I was completely clueless about what they were talking about. I didn't realize that they were actually, guessing, or if they were actually, making a suggestion about the meaning of the sentence. I didn't realize it because I didn't hear that. I could only hear, one Korean sentence at a time because my mom actually, dropped something that I've never even heard of. That was a really interesting story. My aunt actually gave us, half of an apple and half of a pear and half of an apple. Because this is such a high level, such a not really classified, high level, and the first rated apple and pears that were likely to be, consumed by such rich and famous, like the president of the Samsung Electronics. That was really the reason I was somewhat, interested in her story. So I didn't even actually hear what was going on. That was really the thing. Excuse me, is there anyone who can actually read, what I normally actually, what I actually say to my husband? Is there anyone who can actually read it out loud? I feel so awkward. I actually know the both meaning of, Liebe. Liebe, commonly it means, your preference, your love, as well as, it could be used as an adverb to say the rather. I would rather, ich liebe nicht. Yeah, I really know both the form of them, and it could actually be, used as, verb in a lieben. Ja, das ist alles möglich. Das ist möglich. Aber das klingt sehr merkwürdig. Mein Vater hat eine bestimmte Merkwürdigkeit zu äh, benachteiligen. Mein Deutscher oder mein Französischer. Normalerweise, wenn ich höre etwas Koreanisches, ich habe nicht keine genügendes Verständnis oder keine genügende Kapazität zu befassen mich alles in die Umgebung. Ja, das würde die Situation, die ich liebe. Und das würde sehr ungewöhnlich. What can I actually say? I don't really understand how I can actually verify my innocence. Excuse me, is there anyone who just really can actually, gives any type of testimony to actually, talk this scenario out of his brain? Because it's so not fair. I was, was so engorged in my mother's conversation that was completely unknown to me. So I didn't really even realize that those panels, that those guests are on the screen. They were actually, guessing or guesstimating the meaning of this German sentence, and which was technically written in Korean, not really in German. So I'm extremely terrible with, any type of, foreign sentences written in Korean. That really actually kind of, made me very confounded. That's normally the case. But the thing is, what's at stake at this moment is I didn't really hear what they were talking about. I didn't. Was I actually, fully comprehending what they were talking about on the spot? Then I would have immediately said something, at least, made a guessing, not really actually remain silent. That was what I would normally like to do. This is really crazy. My father is really kind of, obsessive a person who just really simply cannot accept the fact that I would actually know everything about this type of tiny and simple stuff that I had already mastered, in 2015. And that's really the frequent text message that I actually sent to my husband. This is really crazy. I don't really understand this kind of situation because it's really kind of, awkward. It's really kind of crazy. It's a really strange, it's a strange situation, maybe stranger than fiction, because I can never imagine that I would never be known to this, known to this, very common words in French. We say that je t'aime, I love you, I that's ich liebe dich, ich mag dich, I like you, I really, want to have you, like this kind of, ich liebe dich, ganz einfach. Aber wahrscheinlich, was ich nicht kapiert hatte, ist dieses koreanische Einsatz, weil ich immer noch meine Aufmerksamkeit auf meine Mutters Sprache ganz voll verbrachte. Deswegen, ich hatte keine genügende Kapazität zu greifen, zu ergreifen, was das bedeutet. Nein, ich hatte keine Ahnung, was wirklich passierte auf dem Bildschirm, an dem Bildschirm. Nein. Oh, das machte mir ganz verrückt, weil ich keine Ahnung. Wie kann das sein? Ist voller Unsinn. Wie? Ah nein, das ist ganz. Dieses Wort ist eine ganz elementare und sehr, sehr einfach etwas, die, ja, wirklich, die meisten, ja, vielleicht, ja, weiß das ich nicht. Was muss ich sagen? Weißt du, dass ich nicht. Aber das würde sehr einfach als andere. Und hat ich niemals vergessen, habe ich niemals vergessen, diese ganze vereinfachte Darstellung. Und eben wenn ich keine Ahnung für Deutsche gehabt hatte, hat ich selber gelernt, was das wirklich meinte. Das ist ganz verrückt. Oh, diese Anspielung ist wahrscheinlich außer der Fassung. Weißt du, dass ich nicht, was wirklich passiert da oben. Weil ich immer noch meine Aufmerksamkeit auf andere völlig vergeudet hatte. Deswegen ich niemals hört, was wirklich passierte dazwischen. Oh, das ist eine ganze Verrückte. Mein Vater hat eine sehr merkwürdige und unglaubliche, unsinnliche Gewohnheit herzusetzen und geringfügiger zu machen, meine Fremdsprachefähigkeit. Weißt du, dass ich nicht, meine Fremdsprachefähigkeit ist nicht, was er normalerweise denkt. Weil das ist nicht eine schwierige oder Kopf zerbrechende oder Gehirn zermatteten, schweres Wörter. Nein, das ist ganz einfach. Oh,